This week, I'm going to lead you through a short practice for mobilizing and creating support for lower back, especially in times when you might have lower back pain or just some extra stiffness in the lower spine. Let's get started. For this week's practice, I would recommend having a few props nearby. The most important would be some kind of a block or a box or maybe a big book that you can use as a block. And then potentially a couple of cushions or a bolster. If you have a bolster, you could have that nearby. And then optional prop would be a chair, so that in the end, when we do our relaxation, you can lift your feet, your legs up onto that chair. That is very optional. So we're going to do a short practice, and the intention is to create some mobility, so some gentle movement in the lower spine. You know, especially if you have lower back pain, those are the times when you don't want to go do big stretches, big strong movements. So we're going to do small, gentle movements to kind of gently coax the lower spine to move, but equally creating support in muscles that support the lower spine. So not just in the back, but kind of inner thigh, around the hips, and also in upper back. So that will be our focus. And we're going to do pretty much all the movements lying down in different ways. And the first thing we're going to do is going to be lie down on the back. So often, and definitely for me, lower back pain comes from sitting too much. So we're not going to do any seated poses or movements today, just to give the body, the back, a bit of a break from sitting. And we're going to start with bridge movement. But for this bridge, I would now suggest that we use a block or a box or some books between the legs so that we can increase the engagement in our inner thighs, or just kind of wake up the inner thigh support more. So you could bring your block, it could be sideways, could be as a flat block, but so that you could gently squeeze it between your legs. This is here to remind us to engage the inner thigh, so that when we move up and down in the bridge, we're not just tensing the buttocks or hamstrings, but we're also finding that inner thigh support. So when you have your feet roughly hip width apart, you have that block between the legs. Just gently hug the block between your inner thighs. Inhale. And then as you exhale, press your feet down onto the mat and start to elevate your pelvis, your back slightly off the mat, with bigger focus on the inner thighs than trying to get your pelvis as high up as possible. And then we're going to use the exhalation to also release down. Inhale, try to release your buttocks when you are down on the mat. And same again, hug the block between the legs. Exhale, lift the pelvis, lift the back off the mat. All the time focusing on the inner thighs. And again, we don't need to go into full bridge. We pause there to breathe. The feet active, pressing down. And then again, exhalation, lowering down. Also, when you come down, focus on the inner thighs. We'll do 2 more times. So again, exhale, hugging the block. Press the feet down, press especially your heels down as you lift your pelvis, as you lift your back off the mat. Maybe gently pressing the shoulders down, but nothing too forceful. And then exhale again, slower down. And I'm going quite high up into the bridge now, but we could stay much lower down. So we only go as far as the lower back is not aching, it's not in pain. So let's do once more. Hugging the block with the inner thighs and slowly lifting the pelvis, the back off the mat. So we could stay very low down, and that could be plenty enough. Again, hugging the block still with the inner thighs. And then slowly release the back down. And then we'll put the block aside and just very gently rock the legs from side to side. So not a full twist, but just a bit of sideways movement. Kind of rocking the weight from one side of the pelvis to the other. And then we're going to do a similar movement, but with a very different focus. So now we're going to focus on creating just a mini flexion in the lower back. So we're going to start from the same place, feet in a place where you feel that you can press them down. And you can keep your arms down next to the sides, or you could bring them overhead. I'm going to bring them overhead now so you can see better, because the movement in the lower back, the pelvis area, is going to be quite small. So now our intention would be to exhale and kind of gently press, very gently press the lower back onto the mat and start to bring the pubic bone towards the ceiling. So I'm going through a gently rounded lower back, elevating the pelvis just tiny bit off the mat. So focusing on rounding the lower back. And then I'm going to inhale and vertebra by vertebra release the spine back down. Coming back to neutral spine. So it's a very small movement in the lower back area. Same again. Exhale. I kind of imagine I'm scooping the belly in. I'm rounding the lower back very little. So kind of towards the same direction as the bridge, but only to a point where I'm rounding the lower back. And then I release. And we'll again do this a few times. So it's a small movement. Start by gently pressing the lower back, scooping the belly in, and then you're kind of scooping the pelvis off the mat. But we're not going to go into a full bridge. We go only to a point where you feel that you're maybe just lifting the pelvis off the mat. And then releasing down. Let's do 2 more rounds. So with the exhalation, scooping in through the belly, scooping the pelvis tiny bit off the mat. And again, the movement could be much smaller than what I'm doing here. I'm exaggerating the movement just a bit so you can actually see. Again, releasing down. Inhale, and once more. Exhale. You're kind of rolling the lower back, the back of the pelvis onto the mat, and then you start from the kind of almost tailbone, leading the way up off the mat. And then releasing down. Good. And once you're down again, you could rock the legs just a few times from side to side, rocking the weight from one side of the pelvis to the other. So you can see we're doing very small movements, nothing too strong, because if the lower back is aching, the big movements might be too much. Now from here, bring your knees towards the chest, and then you could either hug the knees in as the legs are next to each other. If that feels good in your lower back, then stay here. Or the other option would be to cross your ankles, cross your shins, and then right hand reaching for the left foot or ankle, left hand reaching for the right foot or ankle. So the hips actually rotate slightly externally outwards, and then hugging the legs in. And whether you're hugging the knees or holding your feet, just very gently rock from side to side, giving that a subtle micro movement. Almost as if you're gently massaging the lower back onto the mat. And breathing in and out. Breathing all the way down towards the lower back. Now if you have your legs, your ankles crossed, change the crossing the other way around, and then again reach left hand to right foot, right hand to left foot. And you can continue rocking from side to side, or just Stay still for a few breaths, but keep moving the breath in and out. Not forcing the breath, just a gentle, relaxed breathing. Finding that ease of breath can also help lower back pains and aches. Let's take another relaxed, easy breath in and out. And then we're going to release the legs, release the feet down, and we're going to roll onto our belly. So from where you're lying down on your back, just turn around so you come lying down on your front. And now we're going to do gentle twisting. But sometimes doing those big reclining twists or seated twists can be quite strong on the lower back. So now we're going to do our twists from Cobra. So twisted cobras. And first, leave your left hand quite close to the left shoulder on the mat. Extend the right arm in front of you and keep the legs just long behind you. They don't need to be together. They could be wider apart. So find a place for the legs that feels okay in your lower back. And just a very subtle drawing in through the lower belly, not tucking the tail under, just a very subtle support in the belly, on the belly side, so that we're not collapsing into our lower back. And from here, inhale towards the chest and gently press the left hand down. And you come up into Cobra, but at the same time, you're twisting towards the left side. And pelvis, the left side of the pelvis can roll off the mat as well. And then exhalation, release back down. So let your pelvis move as well. Change hands the other way around. Now right hand close to right shoulder. Left arm extended. Inhale towards the chest and peel the chest off the mat. And just a gentle twist out to the right. And again, don't press the pelvis down, so let your pelvis move. And exhale, release down. We'll do this a few times. Change arms the other way around. And again, inhale, peel the chest off the mat while twisting to the left. I find this more gentle for the lower back because we're not fixing the pelvis. Exhale, again, release down, but the pelvis can turn into that twist as well. Change the arms and inhale, and opening the chest to the right. And we're also trying to find more movement in the upper spine. Using the breath. Let's go once more to each side. Change the arms, the hands, and then inhale, twisting to the left. Now this time we'll stay here a few breaths, just on a gentle edge. Focus on breathing out to the ribs. Let the breath mobilize your spine, mobilize your ribs. Tops of the shoulders soft. And then exhale, release down. And once more, we change the arms, we twist to the right. So with your in-breath, open the chest out to the right, lifting the chest slightly off the mat. And again, send movement to the upper spine with your breath. So let your ribs move. And if there is pain in the lower back, just come a bit lower down. Only go to a place where there's no pain. Take another breath in and out. And then exhale, release down. We're going to step both hands down close to the shoulders and just kind of rock, shimmy the pelvis a few times from side to side. You could lean your head down. And then a slightly bigger breath in and out. Lift up onto hands and knees. And we'll go into child's pose. And this is where you could, if you want, you could use some cushions or a bolster, maybe in front of you, so it's under your chest, under your belly, but you could also lean all the way down to the mat. But if it makes the pose a bit more comfortable, you bring pillows, cushions under the belly, under the chest, and you decide how much you want to open or close the legs. See if you could lean your head onto something. It could be that cushion. You can bring your hands under the head. And here as well, there could be that small micro movement, rocking the pelvis from side to side if you want. Now focus on breathing towards the back. As I often say, breathe into your turtle shell. Really send the breaths towards the back side of the body. Through the back of the rib cage, all the way down towards the lower back. Few more breaths in and out. Really let the pelvis become heavy, let your head become heavy. And focus on that breath moving towards the back side of the body. As if the breath opens up space and releases tension. And then after your next breath, slowly, with the help of your hands and arms, bring your back up, kind of rolling, walking the back up. Roll the shoulders a couple of times, open the chest. And then it's time for our final resting pose. And as I said, you don't need to use the chair, but you have that option today. So I'll show you how you can do your Savasana pose with a chair, or maybe with a bed, edge of the bed, edge of a couch, or you can just come lie down on your back. If you have those pillows, you can bring your pillows under your knees, under your legs. So like this, you could have a pillow cushion under your legs, and that might take extra load off your lower back. Or come lie down quite close to your chair and then bring the knee crease to the edge of the chair, edge of your bed or couch, and let your calves, your feet just rest on the chair. So this shape, these angles in your legs, in your hips, often are quite releasing for the lower back. Again, legs could be wider apart. You might bring legs closer together. You can let your hips rotate open. But looking for a place where you feel there's no stress on your lower back. You can bring hands onto your body, maybe one hand on the belly, the other hand somewhere where you can feel your ribs. And then bring your full awareness to your breath. And just allowing space for the breath. Not trying to push the belly out, not trying to force the breath down towards the belly. Same with your ribs and your chest. Not forcing them to move, not pushing them out, but just allowing them to move freely with each breath. Allow your legs to become heavy. Allow your buttocks to soften. And if you're not sure if you are relaxing your buttocks or legs, for a few seconds, try to tense your buttocks, like squeezing your buttocks in, and then release. That can sometimes be helpful to feel the tension and then feel the release so that your body knows what we are looking for. We're looking for that release. And as always, you'll have an option to stay in this Savasana pose, in your resting pose, for longer. Or after a few more breaths here, you can join me in closing the practice. But do listen to your body, listen to your back. If you need a longer resting pose, then stay here for as long as is needed today. Or if you feel that you'd be ready, you would like to slowly find your way out of Savasana pose. Wherever you are, you'd slowly bend your knees. You could step feet on your chair or onto the mat, or even hug the knees in. And then slowly roll onto one side. Rather than jumping up into a seat, just roll onto one side. And then help with your arms, your hands to bring your body up into a seat. And you could sit on a pillow, on a block if you like. Or you might lean onto the chair if that feels better. And take just a few more breaths to close the practice. If you want to, you might bring your palms together in front of the chest. Notice how your back feels now. And as always, at the end of the practice, thank yourself for taking some time to look after yourself. Thank yourself for being kind to your back today. And I thank you very much for joining in, for sharing this practice. Namaste. Thank you. And as this was a short practice, if you want to make a longer practice, you could go to the beginning of the video and repeat the practice. See if the second round feels different in your back. And also, if you did enjoy the practice, please give this video a thumbs up and also leave your comments below. Any questions, let me know. If you haven't already, also subscribe to the channel. There will be loads and loads more yoga related videos coming up. Thank you again, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.